If you are a medical student or planning to join medicine, then here's something which I wish somebody had told me back in my first year. I made a lot of mistakes, not just in academics, but life in general. And here are some of my real raw experiences and the lessons I learned from it, and I hope they save you from having the same regret. So let's get started. Hello people, my name is Dr. Prameeth and I'm a freshly graduated doctor from India. I'm also a hyperrealism artist and a drummer. Over the past few years, I've made a lot of mistakes, I've struggled, I've learned and I've grown. And now I want to share my journey with you. Whether you're just starting out or halfway through, I hope these lessons stay with you. Let's get started. So the first mistake I want to talk about is passive studying. I can't stress how important this lesson was for me or for anybody else in that matter. So when I entered Mbbs for the first time, I realized there was a lot to study and I had to start studying. So what I did was I started studying hours and hours every day, and I started watching videos, I started making notes, and I started consuming content. I started going to lectures and all that stuff. But when the exams came, it all just crashed upon me. I don't remember anything, literally nothing, just blank, okay? And that's when I realized I wasn't studying at all, okay? Because I don't know what I studied. So what is the use of putting in hours and hours? Time is like an investment, right? So you invest so much time into studying a topic, and what is the point if you don't understand that, or like is not able to replicate that idea? So when I started working on this problem, spoke to my mentors and Googled stuff, I realized there's something called active recall, spaced repetitions, using flashcards, and testing myself before actually putting myself through the actual test. So yeah, if you're watching this, I just want to let you know that if at all you're finding it difficult, to understand a topic, if you're spending hours and hours on the same topic, I just suggest you start learning on how to study rather than actually studying that topic. So in the end, it'll just save your time. You can use that time to do something you love. So that was my first mistake. So the most underrated mistake which I feel I have to talk about is me not having any sort of physical fitness, at least in the initial few days of Mbbs, and ignoring my physical fitness altogether. So I used to gaslight myself. Mbbs is very difficult. So obviously there's no time to go to the gym and there's no time to go for a run. But yeah, clearly it didn't work out. And then slowly I started to drain myself out, and I was very sluggish during my postings, and I didn't feel I performed to my optimum level. And mentally I was very anxious, I was very stressed, and I had body image issues too. So I can say one thing for sure, I now consider sports to be an absolute necessity in my everyday life because of the changes it has brought into me. It has brought a sense of discipline in my life, and I feel more active during my days, I feel more confident about myself, and it helps me study better, or the art I make or the music I play, it has a lot of impact on whatever I do in my daily life. And let's be honest, our profession requires a lot of strength. We have to have focus all the time, we have to treat our patients, and we have to endure 24-hour shifts, 36-hour shifts, and my favorite 60-hour shifts. So yeah, focusing on sports is never a distraction. It's not a waste of time. It's an absolute necessity in our career. This is something which I hate to admit, but I skipped a lot of classes and clinical postings back in the day. Honestly, at that point, it didn't feel like much. It was just me having test a week later, so I have to bunk postings, or I just don't feel like going today, so let me just bunk postings. I didn't sleep well last night, so let me just bunk postings. And I used to think that I could study Davidson's and Bailey and then be over with it and then learn the same topics. But what I didn't realize is Mr. Davidson doesn't teach you how to measure BP when the patient is having a boxing match with you. That's something which I realized I could have learned by seeing interns and PGs suffer. So yeah, so what I'm trying to tell you is when you enter a hospital, learning can happen from any direction. Once you imagine you're in surgery postings, and once you enter the operation theatre, even if the surgeon doesn't teach you what they're doing, just by observation you can learn a lot of things. For example, like you can learn what is sterile and what is unsterile, how the surgeon is carrying out the operation, what is the role of the assistant surgeon in the operating theatre, what is the role of the nursing staff, what is the role of group D workers in the operating theatre, what operation is going on and what drugs are they giving, what are the anesthesiologists doing. This is something which I honestly feel I could have learned in second or third year MBBS, because even in my final year MBBS I didn't know what was sterile and what was unsterile, which is very idiotic. So I used to get screwed a lot in my final year MBBS because I accidentally made an instrument unsterile or something like that. So that's just one example which I had to give you. If I had time to go back to my junior self and tell him what to do, I would just tell him to start attending all his clinical postings and always carry a notebook when he's going to clinical postings and make notes of whatever he saw that day, so that he can just come back and revise. And second thing I'll suggest him to do is ask questions, ask doubts to PGs and interns, and no hesitation at all, because initially we wouldn't know stuff, so we have to ask questions and learn from things. And third thing is I'll tell him to shadow all the PGs and interns, because I feel you can learn a lot from seeing how they work, because they'll be doing the 24-hour shifts, they'll be having long hours. So you can just spend a day or do a night duty with them, observing what they do and the mistakes they make and the mistakes you make. You can discuss it with them and try to figure something out. This is one thing I don't regret, because I rectified it in the middle of my MBBS, and that is not pursuing my hobbies. So when I was a kid, I was doing a lot of artworks and I used to go to music classes, and I really used to love all that. But then when I entered 11th and 12th grade, I just stopped all that altogether, and I thought that is a sacrifice which I have to make to become what I want to become. And I realized that is wrong, and I just didn't feel like it was me anymore. I just felt like I was a machine. I didn't have any identity. So initially I started slow, started drawing a few doodles and started drawing a few small artworks, and then I just started doing more and more artworks, and then I just felt happier. I just felt more satisfied, and there was a sudden rush of dopamine after I finished an artwork, and it taught me patience and discipline. So, and that didn't end there. I started pursuing new hobbies. One of my favorite hobbies right now is playing drums, and I picked that up during my second year of MBBS, and I absolutely love playing drums on stage. And slowly I started learning new hobbies, and then it's just that I fell in love with the process of learning new stuff and then being a little good at it. It's like it's like how they say jack of all, master of none. In other words, I would just say I would want to become the best drummer out of all doctors and the best doctor out of all drummers, if you know what I mean. Yeah, or the best artist out of all doctors, and then the best doctor out of all artists. So that is one way which I look at it. And I just started feeling myself. I just started having an identity. I just enjoyed doing what I do, and whenever I felt low or whenever I felt bored, I just go back to drum kit and then start playing drums or just do artworks in general. So it just made me who I am. It just helped me shape my identity, and I honestly can't imagine where I'd be without my hobbies. So I consider it an absolute necessity and not an option for everybody. And I just suggest, if I have to tell my junior self, I would suggest him to start learning drums at a very early age, because he absolutely loves drums. And the second aspect is, I would tell him to structure it just like how he structures his academics, because unless you structure your hobbies, it'll just move around and then waste your time. Third thing is, don't give up, is what I say, because a lot of people think it's a waste of time, and I can't tell you how many people have told me to stop pursuing it, believe it or not. And yeah, I just love what I do, and so far so good. MBBS is great at teaching us about a given disease and how to treat it, but it does nothing when it comes to money and finance. So I made this classical mistake of thinking about money like this: why should I start learning about finance right now? Why not after MBBS or after I finish my post-graduation when I actually start earning? But here's the thing, we can't magically start making financially smart decisions after we start earning. If anything, we start making bigger mistakes with bigger money. So those money-making habits don't inherently come to us. So we have to start learning it at some point of time. So if I had a chance to go back to my junior self, I would just encourage him to start 1. Track his money, and 2. Learn about basic stuff like compounding and mutual funds and SIPs and investment and stocks and whatnot. I'm not asking any of us to be a financial expert, I'm just asking us to be financially aware. So when we're financially aware, we have a lot of time, patience and money, of course. I started learning about all this probably at the end of my internship, but I considered it a little late, but I guess it's better late than never. So yeah, these were some of the mistakes which I feel I made in my MBBS life and the lessons that came with it. If you are a medical student or just someone who's figuring out life in general, I hope this video made you feel a little less alone. And if you liked the video, it would mean a lot if you hit like and subscribe and just stick around, okay? And I'm trying to build something meaningful and thoughtful here. So see you in the next one.